Hello everyone, my name is Seth, and today I want to give you my top 10 most anticipated films for 2026. "2025 was a pretty good year for film, but before I give you my top 10 of the year, there's still a couple more I want to catch up on, but here on the last day of 2025, or early days 2026, depending on when you're watching this, I want to give you the top 10 movies I'm most looking forward to in 2026. 2026 looks like it has an amazing potential slate, so I'm so excited for the films for this upcoming year. But before we go any farther, go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. We're getting closer and closer to 400 subscribers, so if you're new here, please consider subscribing, and if you're not new here, share this video around with any friends or family. It could really help the channel grow, and it absolutely would make my day. You know, I don't know what the future holds, but it would be cool by the end of 2026, maybe to get up to 500 subscribers, so maybe that can be our goal. And you watching this could help me out on that goal. And also, this video is sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is an energy drink that is loaded with vitamins, and it's pretty much for anyone who wants a boost of energy to help focus without any jitters or a crash. I'm somebody who sometimes has a lot of really early mornings or some late nights working on videos or preparing for a live broadcast. So having a little bit of extra energy, a little bit of focus really helps. But I think W works for me. I've tried it. W is sugar-free, 0 calorie, and has no artificial colors, which is great. If you've recognized from my past videos, I've actually lost quite a bit of weight over the last year or so. So having something that's 0 calories, 0 sugar is really a plus for me. I have the blue raspberry purple grape flavor, and that tastes really good. You just add a scoop into about 8 ounces of water. Some other energy drinks can kind of taste like battery acid, but this actually has a good taste, and for me it works. I did not get jittery like I did with some others. It was just enough to help me focus on like editing or focus on like multiple cameras on a live broadcast. They have a bunch of different flavors, so if you want to try it for yourself, I actually have a code for you. Use code CinemaSeth at checkout to get 10% off your order. Now on with the video. Before I jump right into my top 10, there's a few films that didn't quite make my top 10, but I'm still excited for. Well, I mean, there's a lot of films that I'm still excited for that didn't make the top 10, but some of the ones I wanted to specifically call out. One is Clayface. That's another project in the DCU. It's going to be focused on the Batman villain Clayface. If I had to take a guess, I would say that's when we get our first look, our first appearance of the DCU Batman. But this is kind of seeming to be a self-contained story focused on Clayface, kind of a little bit more of a horror film. I'm very excited to see what they do with that. And sticking in the horror realm, honestly, for the next couple, one of the films I'm really excited for is Zach Krieger's Resident Evil reboot. I think the Resident Evil games are a lot of fun, especially the early ones, and then some of the most recent ones. They really leaned into the horror side of things. I don't really like any of the Resident Evil films, unfortunately, but with this being a reboot kind of helmed by Zach Krieger, I love Barbarian. I love weapons, so I'm so excited to see what he does in this world. Next, we also have Scream 7. Neve Campbell returns for Scream 7. We are getting Sydney back in this one. Kevin Williamson is directing it, and I think the trailer looks like a lot of fun. I'm very excited to see what they do with this film. I am a big Scream fan. I honestly at least like all of the Scream movies, so I'm always going to be here for another Scream film. Another one that I'm really looking forward to that didn't quite make my top 10 was Jumanji 3, or I guess technically 4, but it's the third of the new trilogy with Kevin Hart and The Rock. I really enjoyed that first one, and I did still enjoy the second one. I felt like I had some problems, but I've kind of been waiting for the conclusion to that story, and I think we're going to get it here. I'm just excited to see what they do, see if they can recapture a little bit of the magic that they had in that first one. And then another one I'm super excited for is Greta Gerwig's Narnia film. I loved the first Narnia book. I can't remember reading the other ones because that might have been about the time where I fell out of reading, but I definitely read the first one and I loved it. I really liked the previous Chronicles of Narnia films, but I absolutely loved that first one. And so with a director like Greta Gerwig behind it, she kind of got to choose what she wanted to do next, and this is what she wanted to do. So I think she has a really cool vision for it, and I'm excited to see it. But officially number 10 on my list is Supergirl. Supergirl follows Kara Zor-El's story. We're introduced to her a little bit in Superman, but this is the second official DCU film. The trailer came out. I think it looks pretty cool. This is going to be based on the Woman of Tomorrow comic, which I really, really enjoy. I think this has some really great character development for Kara. I loved Superman so much. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. And so I'm excited to see this universe continue with a character we have met. Of course, we had Millie Alcock coming back as Supergirl, but this time we got Jason Momoa, not as Aquaman, but as Lobo, which I think honestly is a role he was kind of born to play. So I'm super excited to see the way they adapt this story to the big screen. Coming in at number 9 on my list is The Mandalorian and Grogu. I feel like this is a film that some people might have forgotten is kind of coming out, and I'm not one of those people. I'm very excited for it, even though I feel like the third season of The Mandalorian was a little bit disappointing to me. I still liked it overall, but as a whole, I love the show. I have a couple of concerns. I'm hoping that this doesn't just seem like a really long episode of a show. I'm hoping that this actually has the big, grand Star Wars film feel to it. Coming out toward the end of May, I think that's a prime time for a Star Wars film to release. I still feel like the end of The Mandalorian Season 3 did set up kind of what this adventure could be. You know, we meet Zeb. He's going to be in this. We have Sigourney Weaver in this. Jeremy Allen White is playing a Hutt. I'm very excited to see what they do, and I'm hoping that this has that big, giant Star Wars event film feel to it, because it has been way too long since I have seen a new Star Wars film on the big screen. 2019 was the last time, and that is just inexcusable. Star Wars should not be out of theaters for that long. It shouldn't just be relegated to TV. So I'm super excited for The Mandalorian and Grogu. Coming in at number 8 is Disclosure Day. This is kind of the alien UFO film directed and written by Steven Spielberg. And, you know, directed and written by Steven Spielberg is enough to get me in the theater. Spielberg is a master of film. He is one of the best directors of all time. This film is expected in June. That has the perfect vibe for just a big alien fun summer blockbuster. This has an incredible cast with Emily Blunt and Josh O'Connor, Wyatt Russell, Coleman Domingo. The cast is great. The trailer just came out not too long ago. I'm going to play a few bits here and there as I'm talking about this film, but I think the trailer just looks so good. This looks like a film that's going to be right up my alley. So I'm so excited for this. Coming in at number 7, we're sticking with the space theme with Project Hail Mary. Out of my top 10, this is the one that's closest to release. It's coming out March 20th. So we're not going to have too much longer before this comes out, but this is based on a book. I've told you, if you watched my Housemaid review, my wife is a big reader. She loves to read. This is a book she hasn't gotten around to yet, but she's heard so many good things about. And this is also from the guy who wrote The Martian, and I absolutely loved The Martian. It was one of my favorite films from the year it came out, and this is honestly kind of giving me The Martian vibes. This stars Ryan Gosling. He's being directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. Those guys are very talented directors and producers. It is being written by Drew Goddard, who is a very talented writer. There's just a lot of talent behind this film, and that's something that makes me excited. The visuals look great. I've really enjoyed the trailer. I've loved seeing it in front of any films when I've been in the theater. And Project Hail Mary is a mission to save humanity by gaining new knowledge, traveling light years away from Earth, and bringing back the knowledge in time. So it's kind of a race against the clock kind of film too. And of course, I love space. So I think this also seems like it's right up my alley. I'm so excited for this. Coming in at number 6 is Toy Story 5. And this might be a surprise to you, but I think Toy Story is one of the best film trilogies ever made. I mean, you might looking at me, seeing the types of films I love, seeing all the horror films I love, you wouldn't expect me to have Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 maybe be top 20 films of all time, potentially. I don't know, that's just off the top of my head, but they're incredible films. I will say I'm gonna have to do a little bit of homework catching up on characters because I actually haven't seen Toy Story 4. I've heard not as good as the other 3, but the other 3 are basically perfect, so that's not a big knock. But one of the reasons I haven't seen it yet is because the Toy Story franchise is one of the favorites between me and my mom. We both enjoyed that, and if you don't know about me, my mom passed away. It'll be 6 years ago in February, and that was a movie that we had planned to see together. We never really got the chance to, and didn't get the chance to before she passed away, and so I just haven't really been able to bring myself to watch Toy Story 4, but I know if she was still here, she would definitely want to go see Toy Story 5, so I think I'm gonna kind of push through, watch Toy Story 4 so I can catch up before Toy Story 5. The teaser, I think, is interesting, and just kind of the story idea is very interesting. It seems very modern. I'm very excited to see where they take this, because Woody, Buzz, Jesse, and the rest of the gang's jobs are challenged when they're introduced to electronics, a new threat to playtime. Andrew Stanton is one of the directors on this. He's the writer of this, and you know it's not going to be just as simple as technology bad, tablets bad. So I'm very excited to see what they do with this. Number 5 on my list is Dune 3. Now, you might be surprised that Dune 3 is as low on my list as it is. That's not to say I'm not super duper excited for it. I will say I have an interesting relationship with the Dune films because famously, go back and watch my reviews, I mentioned that I had tried watching the first Dune and I kind of just hated it. I didn't get all the way through it. And I don't know if I was in a bad mood or I just wasn't feeling a movie like that at that time. But I went back, I rewatched it before Dune Part 2 came out, and I absolutely loved it. And I loved Dune Part 2 even more. Timothée Chalamet just gives an incredible performance. They've developed this really big and interesting universe here with an very impressive visual language to these films. Denis Villeneuve is an incredible director. I know here they are adapting a book that a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of, and I think that is what makes it even that much more interesting to me, because you can take a look at something that maybe wasn't as successful, see what didn't work, and improve upon it for the film. As of right now, this has a December 18th release date. They said they're going to keep it. Who knows? That's the same release date as Avengers Doomsday. We'll see what happens with that. But if both happen to come out on the same day, I'm going to have to make it a double feature. Dune Part 3 is going to be a film that you're going to want to see on the biggest screen possible. Coming in at number 4 on my list is Iron Lung, the film written and directed by Markiplier. I don't anticipate Iron Lung necessarily being on the top 10 list of most anticipated films for a lot of other film fans, but I love Markiplier. He is one of my favorite YouTubers. I have been watching him for years. I've been watching as his comedic style has evolved. I have been watching as his storytelling has evolved. I have absolutely loved what he did, going from like Who Killed Markiplier, A Date with Markiplier, A Heist with Markiplier, In Space with Markiplier. I think especially those last two, A Heist with Markiplier and In Space with Markiplier, those are an incredibly ambitious projects, and I think he succeeded on those. Now, obviously, directing a full feature-length film is different from what he has done in the past, but I think you can take a look at what he has done and translate that to film to project that this film might be pretty good. I think the whole idea of Iron Lung based off the game is really, really interesting, and I know he really loved the game. I mean, that's why he's making a movie of it. So he is somebody who has a lot of passion for the source material, which I think is always great. It's always just a plus. I really, really like the looks that he has shared. I'm going to add some of the visuals over while I'm talking so you can see what I'm talking about, but I really like the look of this. I think this looks like a lot of fun. It looks like a fun horror film. And I think even with The Edge of Sleep, the series on Amazon, Markiplier has proved himself as a honestly really solid actor. I think he's a good enough actor to kind of lead this film. So yes, part of it is the idea of the whole film with Iron Lung and everything. But another part of why I'm looking forward to this so much is because it is Markiplier. But before I move on to the next thing, I'm going to read the little bit of a synopsis for you and just tell me this doesn't sound so interesting. In a post-apocalyptic future after the Quiet Rapture event, a convict explores a blood ocean on a desolate moon using a submarine called the Iron Lung to search for missing stars and planets. Come on, that sounds so cool. Number 3 on my list might not be a surprise, Spider-Man Brand New Day. Spider-Man is one of my favorite superheroes, probably my second favorite behind Batman, I would say, although it depends. They're that close. Everything I have seen out of the production of this film just gives me so much hope and excitement for this film. I mean, just even the suit alone, some of the behind the scenes looks that they've given as they've shot, this just looks like such a fun, grounded Spider-Man story, and that's what we've been wanting. And even though there are some bigger elements, like the Hulk is supposedly supposed to be in this, we have the Punisher in this, there's rumors that Yelena Belova is going to show up. All of that still somehow feels grounded, and it seems like grounded is what they're focusing on. Now, there has been a leaked version of the trailer. I'm not going to post anything about it. You can try to find that out for yourself. I will say I've heard some of the trailer descriptions and it sounds awesome. Spider-Man No Way Home just left this character in such an interesting place, and I'm so excited to see where they carry on from here. Tom Holland is honestly my favorite Spider-Man. I mean, you might disagree, but to me, I think Tom Holland's my favorite, although I think all of them are great. But to hear the way he has talked about the script, the way he's talked about filming, like, it just seems like he has so much joy for this story and for this character and where they're taking this character. And that just makes me so excited. Also, I have to say, Destin Daniel Cretton is directing this, the guy who directed Shang-Chi. Yes, please. I can't wait to see what his vision of a Spider-Man movie looks like. Coming in at number 2 on my list, none other than The Odyssey, directed by Christopher Nolan. Honestly, at this point, I think Christopher Nolan could direct The Phone Book, and I would be there day one. He has not made a bad film. I mean, you can debate that. Some people aren't a big fan of Tenet, but for me, I don't think Christopher Nolan's made a bad film. I think his worst film is like an 8 out of 10. And for him to take his vision and adapt one of the great stories of all time that's lasted throughout the years of the Odyssey, I'm so excited. And then you have the cast that's in it. This is an insane cast, kind of like Oppenheimer. This cast has basically everybody. But this movie follows Odysseus after the Trojan War as he faces a dangerous voyage back to Ithaca, meets creatures like the Cyclops, Sirens, and Circe. Seeing the set photos that came out just made me so super excited. And then the trailers look awesome. I wish there was a 70mm theater around me so I could go see that. I think the closest one is Atlanta, so that's not really going to work. But trust me, when this comes out in July, I am going to be there day one. And now my absolute most anticipated movie of 2026 is Avengers Doomsday. I understand some people may say that, oh, who cares because Marvel's not what they used to be. I think part of that is the leadership change at Disney going from Bob Iger to Bob Chapek. Chapek took away basically all of Kevin Feige's powers and told him, hey, what you're doing, just pump out a whole bunch of extra stuff. And so when you're having your A and B team work on stuff, and then you have to do more stuff, you have to get a C and D team. And of course, the C and D team is not going to do as good as your A and B team. So I think some of the potential stumbles from Marvel had to do with a lack of control from Kevin Feige and the act of pumping out more stuff than they ever have before. I'm not even somebody who thinks that the last few years has been like a disaster, because I still like a lot of the films that have come out. I still like a lot of the series that have come out. But I think you can tell over the last couple of releases that since Bob Iger has come back, since Kevin Feige has gotten his control back, I think they've gotten more on track. And Kevin Feige knows. He's not an idiot. He knows that the films have not been up to the Marvel golden standard. I think the teasers that have come out have been very interesting. The first one with Steve Rogers, it's cool that he's coming back. That was a little bit underwhelming. The next one with Thor, I think that's really, really starting to set the tone for this film. And then if you've seen the X-Men one that has just come out, I'm not going to post any of the leaks here, but that looks absolutely incredible as well. It does another great job of setting the tone for this film. And make no mistake, this is potentially the most important movie that Marvel Studios has ever made. Because if this movie comes out and it's bad, then that is a massive problem. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Kevin Feige is going to let that happen. I don't think the Russo brothers are going to let that happen, even though they've had some issues directing or producing things on their own, something like The Gray Man. Every time they've worked with Marvel, it's been an absolute 100% success. And I think another thing that gives me hope for it is that they were asked if they wanted to come back and do it, and originally they said no. But then they talked it over. They talked with Stephen McFeely, and then they all came back together, and they had an idea that got them excited to do this movie. Then they came back, got on board. So I think that that's a really, really good sign. They're not just telling a story just to tell it, just to put out another movie. This is a story that they're actually very excited about. And I understand some people have said that they think bringing back Steve Rogers, bringing back Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom is desperate. I don't see it that way. They keep saying that there is a reason why it had to be Robert Downey Jr. And also, I think people do forget that Robert Downey Jr. is an Oscar-winning actor. He's an incredible actor. He's not just Iron Man. So I think if you are a little bit nervous about him portraying an intimidating villain, I would say you shouldn't be nervous, because he could absolutely do it. And even though they might lean a little bit on nostalgia from the X-Men, I think the nostalgia is going to work. And I don't think this film is going to be just cameos here, cameos there, nostalgia here, and then credits roll. I think we're going to actually have an interesting story with all these characters coming together from different universes to make a really interesting and worthy Avengers film that's going to lead us into Secret Wars. Every time there's an Avengers movie, it is a giant event. And honestly, until just the wheels completely fall off and every single movie is complete and utter trash, if there is an Avengers movie on the release schedule, it will probably be my number one of the year, unless there's like a giant mainline Star Wars film. But that's it. That's my top 10 most anticipated films of the year. What are your most anticipated films? What is your number one most anticipated film? Are there any films that you're excited for that I didn't have on my list? Let me know in the comment section down below. I would absolutely love to have a conversation with you all about that. I want to thank everybody for just sticking with me or joining me at some point during the course of this year. It's been a lot of fun just to get to hang out with everybody and talk about movies and just kind of express my thoughts, hear from you. That's just been a lot of fun. And I'm excited to continue that next year going to 2026. There are a lot of really awesome films that I'm so excited to watch and I'm so excited to talk about. But thank you for watching, not just this video, but for every video I've posted over the last year. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. Don't forget you can use code CinemaSeth using the link in the description below to get 10% off your W order. You can also follow me on social media pretty much anywhere at CinemaSeth, and I'll see you next time.